Today we're getting nerdy about wheels. I believe that wheels are one of the most important components on a mountain bike. I've been super lucky to be able to test tons of different wheels. And today we're gonna take a look at every single wheel set that I have in the shop, and I'm gonna give you some off-the-cuff thoughts about each one. There are very few people who've been able to ride all of these and compare them, and it's my pleasure to share that with you. If you want in-depth, deep comparisons and analysis, I do that over on Patreon for my bike consultation service. But this is just gonna be kind of a casual, off-the-cuff, talking about each of the different wheel sets. A lot of us think wheels are wheels, but there's actually a lot that goes into wheels. We'll do a full another deep dive on this one day. But the hub, which is the engagement and bearing and spinning mechanism, can differ from wheel to wheel. The spoke thickness and tension and how many crosses it has when you build it up can change how the wheel feels. And so does the rim material, the rim profile, the rim width, the rim offset. All of those things will change how a wheel feels. So a lot of times we jump to conclusions and be like, I know two things about that wheel, therefore I know everything. But it really is the sum of all of its parts. Now let's talk about carbon versus aluminum. I don't want to make generalizations, so it depends. Some carbon wheels are softer than some aluminum wheels, and most aluminum wheels are softer than most carbon wheels. But there's differences in there. Carbon wheels are typically lighter, but not always. There are some really stout, sturdy carbon wheels that are no lighter than aluminum wheels. So my philosophy when upgrading wheels is to either get something in the $500 or $600 range with fast engagement and aluminum rim, or something up in the $1,000 to $2,000 range that's just your dream wheel set. Wheels are that rotational weight on your bike, and saving half a pound on your wheels will feel like saving 3 or 4 pounds on your frame. It makes a big difference, especially when you're pedaling. Now, what about hardtails versus full suspension wheels? My favorite hardtail wheels are not my favorite full suspension wheels. This is why I do my bike consultation. I don't just have one winner that's perfect for everything. On my hardtails, I like a wheel that absorbs more of the chatter, that's a little bit more damped, a little bit more muted feeling. I like a lightweight wheel on my hardtail so it can zip up things. I don't mind a little bit of lateral flex on my hardtail because I'm not riding them as hard as I'm riding my full suspensions. On my full suspensions, I want a more precise wheel that's not going to flex so much. I don't need it to totally track the ground. I can feel the difference, but I feel like my suspension's doing a really good job keeping contact with the ground, and I don't need as compliant of a wheel on my full suspension. So some of these wheels would work really great in some applications, and I'd pick something else in a different application. It's really important to be honest with yourself. What are you trying to achieve with your wheel? Or do you just want some bling that's loud that impresses the people on the trail? That's a lot of people, and they just want something that they can show off there or that matches the color of their grips. That makes it real easy. You don't need my opinion on that. Go find a wheel builder and pick something that's beautiful. But if you want to learn about the nuances about which wheel does what and why, keep watching. Now, almost all of these are 30i rims, which means they're 30 millimeter internal width. If they're bigger or smaller than 35i, I'll let you know. If I don't mention the width, assume it's 30i. These are the evil Loopholes. I really like these wheels. These are manufactured by Forge and Bond using their fusion fiber technology, which is like a resin and carbon impregnated. And you can, if I were to put this in a really hot oven, it would kind of melt into goo. I kind of think of it like hot glue with these carbon strands in it, and I could press it under pressure and form it into new things. In fact, these tire levers right here they've done exactly that. They've heated up and melted and forged in a heavy press old cracked, damaged rims and turned it into other things. I really like the idea of this technology. I've got 3 or 4 other wheel sets with the same exact technology, but this one has a different rim profile. So these wheels are Evil's wheels made by Forge and Bond to Evil's specs. You'll notice they have the raised nipple protection. I like that. A little more carbon where the spoke is so it doesn't pull out. Old super lightweight rims, when you have an issue, it'd usually pull the nipple out of the rim. And so with the strengthened nipple area, it's going to be stronger there, but then it's lightened in between there to keep the wheels light. These wheels are one of my favorite wheels on full suspensions. On my full suspension bikes, I don't need a soft, compliant, smooth ride so much. I'd rather have a precise feeling wheel and let the bike's frame flex and suspension take care of the flexiness. So this is just a great wheel set. I like it. It's about on par with the Atomic with the same fusion fiber wheels. It's also on par with the Forge and Bond. But I really like the little bit beefier nipple reinforcement here. But they've been flawless wheels. We've got i9 Hydras. Insane engagement on there. And it's just a really, really solid wheel. Now for hardtail riding, it's a little bit on the stiffer side. It's not as stiff as something like a light bicycle, but it's not as compliant as something like a ZIPP or a Knight or a Spinnergy. So this is a fantastic wheel set. I especially like it on my trail and enduro bikes on my full suspensions. It's a little bit heavier on a lightweight XC, lightweight trail bike. And it's a little bit stiff for my ideal hardtail wheel set. I've run these for about a year on my bike. I love them. They've been plenty strong for me. I've got over a year riding on these things. I like the Hydra hubs a lot. Although they're not perfect, you can still crack and break these, and I've had some issues with some of the Hydra hubs in the past. But it's just a very solid wheel that I feel really good recommending to heavier riders or people who are smashing harder or people who want something that is just a solid wheel that they can depend on. This is the Ibis Blackbird Send rims. These are aluminum rims. They come in on their lower end build bikes, and I love Ibis's rims. These are a 35i rim, wider rim. Ibis believes in wide rims, even on their zippier, smaller bikes. And I really like that rim profile. It puffs out the tire. You get a bigger profile. The tires look bigger when you put them on a wider rim, and you can air them down a little bit more. You don't have to air them down, but you can. And because it's wider, it's got good lateral support. So here you can see the wider rim profile. The tire doesn't want to tuck back in so much. It stays a little more vertical. That more vertical sidewall lets you run a lower pressure and still have the tire hold its shape. These are a compliant, soft, great feeling rim. In fact, these are my #1 recommendation for people wanting to upgrade their wheels at a low cost. Because you can get these used because people take them off their Ibises and when they buy one of these other exotic wheel sets, and then they need to get rid of their old wheels. Well, Ibis just came out with a $70 6-pawl upgrade that doubles the engagement to 72 points of engagement, which is great. And huge props to Ibis for doing that. I have a whole video about that. You should go watch it. But it just became my #1 used wheel set to buy. Now that I say that, they're going to be impossible to find. But I'm always looking out for these because they're affordable. They're not the lightest. They're robust enough for me. They will ding if you run too low pressures and just slam rocks with them. But they're great wheels. They're offset to where the spoke length is closer to even on each side. That makes for a stronger wheel. Because we've got a big cassette here on most bikes, the drive side spokes are usually shorter. And Ibis has offset the rim, so these spokes don't actually land in the center of the rim. They land offset so that we can have equal tension and equal length spokes on each side. These are fantastic wheels. And so the Blackbird Sends, I love. I love the old ones too, just the Ibis branded wheels. I've got another set of those. I'm always looking for them, especially with this new ratchet upgrade where you can now pop a piece in 2 minutes or less to swap over for $70, and now you have a fast engaging, light enough, smooth, compliant wheel set with wide rims. So yeah, there you go, some insider info on the best wheel set for the price, as long as you're okay with 35i rims and a little bit heavier wheel set. Now this is Ibis's carbon rim. It's got the same profile as the Blackbird Send aluminum wheels and their old aluminum wheels. It's a 35i. But it's noticeably lighter than their aluminum ones. And I don't know how they've done it, but Ibis has managed to keep these from being harsh. It's real easy to make something stiff out of carbon. It's real hard to make it flex where it moves a little bit without it fatiguing and cracking and breaking. There's epoxy in here, there's fibers, and I don't know how Ibis has done it, but they've created a really smooth riding carbon rim. This is up there as one of the more compliant rims. So when I'm running 2.6s, fantastic choice here. I built up a set of these for my wife with BERD spokes, which I'll show you next, and that is a dream wheel set for 2.4 to 2.6 inch wheels. You can get these with the Ibis hubs, which this has with that 6-pawl upgrade. Pretty good engagement. Not quite as good as a Hydra, but better than a DT with a 54 tooth. Plenty good for me. I don't need faster than that. And you can also get these with Hydra hubs on them, but then they're really expensive. So These are super light wheels, really, really great riding wheels. I think if I were racing enduro on a full suspension enduro bike, I'd probably go with a 30i rim just to save a little bit of weight and like a 2.4 tire on there. But for trail riding, if you're not pushing performance or trying to get the KOM and you're okay with a little bit bigger tire, these with a 2.4 to 2.6 are absolutely fantastic. I especially like these on hardtails because hardtails do benefit from that 2.6 size. You can run lower pressure, get a little bit smoother ride, and because the rim is not super, super rigid, it won't rattle your fillings out. So this is a top hardtail choice. I'm happy to run them on my full suspensions too. They're not noodly. It's not like you're gonna press into a berm and it's gonna squirm on you. It's just not quite as stiff and razor sharp as something like a Santa Cruz Reserve wheel or a light bicycle wheel. Next up is this dream wheel set I built for my wife. We used Onyx Vesper hubs with the hook flange. I'll put a link to that so you can go watch it. And we've got BERD spokes. Now, BERD spokes are extremely expensive. They're extremely light, and they have a very different ride feel from anything else. If you're riding slalom and pushing hard, you will get wheel flex on these. If you're trail riding, you'll get a nice amount, but it's not going to like fold in the corners. So I really like it on my hardtails. If I could have my way, all my hardtails would have BERD spokes on them. I just can't afford them all. So this is a 2.3 tire. So even though she's running a 2.3, she's running it on a 35i rim. That allows her to run really low pressures. She's a lighter rider, and being able to run lower pressures keeps her from bouncing off all the objects. So this is that totally silent hub. It uses what's called a sprag clutch instead of teeth and pawls. The first Onyx Vespers had a little bit of an issue, and they manufacture the tolerances a little bit off. So people that have had those have felt the sponginess of them, but the new Vespers, I don't feel that. And the classics, I especially don't feel that. So the hub's a little bit heavier than other hubs, but it's all in the center of your wheel. So that doesn't feel like rotating mass. Anyway, these are those Ibis Carbon S35 35i rims with BERD spokes, exceptionally light wheel. And with the Dream hub, this wheel is a dream wheel set, especially for a hardtail. I think it'd be a great trail bike wheel. If you're sending 20-foot jumps or hitting 8-foot drops often, I wouldn't choose this as your wheel. Or like I said, if you're racing slalom or like really shrouping the corners, these are gonna flex more, and you may not like that. Also, heavier riders are gonna get these to flex more as well. Lighter riders, this will be a game changer for you. You never realize how heavy spokes are till you hold 32 of them in your hand, and you're like, whoa, that is a significant amount of weight. And then you hold the BERD spokes in your hand, and it feels like string versus a pile of metal rods. So I'm a huge fan of BERD spokes. BERD recently came out with thicker, more aggressive spokes for those that are slashing corners. They're not quite as light as these, but they're a little bit stronger and they won't flex quite as much. So that's another option as well if you are a shredder. BERD spokes are expensive. I've never broken one, but when they do break, it's usually from abrasion, not from impact so much. They are stronger than steel in the pulling apart strength. If you were to rub it back and forth with a file, you would weaken that spoke greatly. Still, we've got thousands of miles on these with zero breakage, and I'm a huge, huge fan of BERD spokes if you can afford it, and if you're not, like absolutely shredding. And most people don't absolutely shred, even though we think we do. I don't shred hard enough for these BERD spokes to be a problem. Next up, we have my favorite aluminum wheel set. This is the Astral Serpentine wheel set. It's a 32i aluminum wheel set. Comes in around $1,000, so it's one of the more higher priced aluminum wheel sets. But the weight is close to some of these carbon wheel sets. It's 1,800 grams. A lot of these carbon wheel sets are not much lighter than this. And so if you prefer aluminum, I think this could be a really cool option. There's a lot of made in the US stuff as well. These are built in the US. They have a really cool building process when they build these. They detension them with a special tool that they have 3 times and then true them all up again. According to Astral, they've got guys on these that have gone for years without re-truing them from the get-go. They use Sapim spokes, just really, really nice stuff. So I think 32i is a really great width for a lot of people that are pushing the 2.4, 2.5, 2.6 tire size. You can kind of interchange between those. It's not as wide as the Ibis 35i, but it's just 2 mil wider than a 30i. I think that's really great for a trail bike. These are fantastic hardtail wheels. The cool thing about an aluminum rim is when you do get a rim strike, you can get a pair of pliers and bend them back and get it to keep going. Now, carbons don't bend when you hit a rim strike, and they usually hold up to a little bit better rim strikes, carbons do, until they don't. And then when they hit, they crack and they're done. So aluminum, you can keep going even after a bad rim strike. You can kind of massage the aluminum back straight, get it to hold the bead again, and keep going. I've done that a lot on a lot of my aluminum wheels. But this is just an absolutely beautiful wheel set, nice and light for aluminum. The hubs are fantastic. These are lifetime hubs that you will run for the rest of your life. I dare you to try and wear these hubs out. They're fantastic, fantastic hubs made by White Industries to Astral specs. Anyway, that's the Astral Serpentine. Fantastic, fantastic wheel. One of my all-time favorite wheels on a hardtail. If you want a great aluminum wheel set, this is what I recommend. It's not the absolute stiffest, it's not the absolute strongest, it's not the absolute lightest, but it is a great wheel set. And it should be at that price. So if you want to support American manufacturing and labor and all that, the Astral Serpentine is a great way to do that. These are the ZIPP 30 Motos that I have swapped the hub out for. And this is the most unique riding wheel set out of all my wheels. It's not super light. These are kind of heavy rims. Most rims have a little box section. They're the carbon U shape, and then there's a piece they put in on top to stiffen it. This doesn't have that. It's just like one piece of carbon in a U shape. They also use a conical nipple and washer on there that allows the spoke to pivot on the rim. Or better said, it allows the rim to pivot on the spoke. And you actually feel this. A lot of these wheel manufacturers claim a whole bunch of things. This one's actually true. And so they call that ankle compliance. And so you will get your wheel pivoting a little bit and moving a little bit underneath you. It's kind of like a compliant hardtail that kind of has a little bit of move in it. And I find that that helps me keep my line and track for the most part on uneven and rough and rocky terrain. You can tell by how beat these wheels are that I love them and I've ridden them so much. Now, SRAM owns ZIPP, and they also own TireWiz. This is a TPMS wireless Bluetooth tire pressure monitoring system that you can send info to your phone or to your bike computer, or you can also just set it up to blink different colors based on the PSI you want. So let's say you love 27 PSI. You can go into the app, program that, so when it's below 27, it flashes red, and when it's at 27, it flashes green. You can get these for any rim as well, not just the ZIPPs, but they came with the ZIPPs when I ordered this, and I liked it. It's not necessary, a little bit extra weight. It doesn't bother me, but if I were ordering them and I could save 50 bucks to not get them, I would do that. This wheel set will absolutely smooth out the trail for you, and I like it on both full suspension and hardtails. It's not light. It does have a little bit of deflection. I'm not going to call it squirm, but when you're pushing hard in berms and dual slalom type stuff, it's going to be a flexier feel. So if you're heavy or a really hard charger, like you have a background in slalom or BMX racing or downhill racing, you're going to probably not like the way you can get it to squirm. But if you're a regular rider like the rest of us, it will take out a lot of the harshness on the trail and it will track the ground really, really well. I'm a huge fan of these rims, and I'd love to see more people experimenting with that ankle compliance. They came out with a trail kind of XC version of this that I haven't tried yet. I hear they're not as compliant as these. And some people are asking, hey, can I get the best of both worlds and run BERD spokes on this? No, you can't. Because of that unique nipple design and because of BERD's uniqueness and because of this single wall rim, when you actually have the rim, your nipples poke through into the rim. And so you can't run a normal rim strip on there, and there's no room to run longer nipples like you would need. Also, these rims are super compliant and flexible. So when you have them in the stand, it's hard to build a wheel on these. They kind of don't want to stay super true at first, and it's going to fight you when you build it. This was the V1 ZIPP 30 Moto. The new V2 has a high engagement hub from SRAM, so you won't need to upgrade the hub like I did for this Onyx. Still, this is a dream wheel set. It's heavy, it's unique, but it is the most smooth, compliant, and unique feeling wheel set. It kind of tracks the ground. It has a little bit of a mind of its own. You will have a quieter ride. It feels like you have cush core in there, or like foam, like a Vibrocore. It's just a quiet ride, and you can push these rims hard. If you're a charger, I still think they're great, but if you're shrouping corners, you're going to feel that flex. I think it was Vital who was testing these, and they did something like that, or maybe it was Lone Wolf, but they were putting these on the front and something stiffer in the rear for their downhill race rig, because as they would get into catch berms really fast, they didn't like the more vague feeling. Anyway, they're super, super unique feeling, and one of my all-time favorite rims for a compliant, smooth, quiet ride. It enhances control. They're expensive. They're beautiful. I have put thousands of miles on these, and they have not given me a single issue. Anyway, that's a ZIPP 3.0 Moto with the ankle compliance that nobody else is doing. And I applaud them for thinking outside the box and for finding a way to make a carbon rim compliant and flexible without shattering. A lot of these companies claim their wheels are compliant and not too stiff. These guys actually did it. These are the Hunt Endurowide 29 V1. These are a fantastic wheel set for the price. They have really quick engagement. Really quick engagement. The new V2s have a little bit less engagement than this, but they're still what I would consider high engagement hubs. Very affordable. I've tested the Endurowide and the Trailwide. The Endurowides are a little wider than the Trailwide. These have a 33mm inner width, which I really like, kind of like those Astrals, kind of in between a 30i and a 35i. A little bit fuller tire profile. They're not extremely light, and I've found that the rims are relatively soft. They're easy to ding and dent, but they true up and you can fix them pretty easily. So for everyday, everybody's wheel set with high engagement, I think this is a really great option. I like the Trailwides for trail riding and the Endurorides more for enduro riding. Go figure. These are a little beefier, a little bit heavier, a little bit more robust. I am pretty good on wheels. I don't taco wheels. I don't trash them, even on hardtails in Sedona. So I tend to favor the little bit lighter, like 28-hole wheels. But this is a really great wheel set for someone who's not ready to spend $1,000 on a wheel set, but still want good engagement and a nice build. These are the Atomik Fusion Fiber rims. These are also made by Forge and Bond using that same technology, a little bit different rim shape. I believe these are the same as Chris King's as well. Same technology as the Evil Loopholes and the Forge and Bonds. And I really like Wayne at Atomik. He builds really great wheels, really nice guy, and he keeps sending me cool stuff saying, try this out, try that out. What do you think about this? This is a traditional wheel set. J-bend spokes, Sapim double-butted spokes. We're running i9 1-to-1s on these. I really like that hub. It's plenty strong for me and plenty fast engagement. Rims were marketed as being really compliant and absorbing chatter. That hasn't been my experience. Just like the Evils, just like the Forge and Bonds, it's a good rim. It's not super light. It's not super heavy. It's not very muted or compliant. It just is a little bit on the stiffer side of things. So good wheel set, but if you're spending that much money, I would get something a little bit more tailored to the type of riding you're going to do. So I love these wheels on my full suspensions. They're great. I've had zero problems with them. And I really like Forge and Bond's process when they make those rims. And as far as ride quality goes, they're great wheels. They don't do anything like head and shoulders above other carbon wheels. They're not as stiff as a light bicycle, but they're not as compliant as a lot of the other wheels we've got on here, like the Ibis or the Zipps or the Knights or the Astrals. All of those are going to be more compliant than this. I run this wheel set a lot on my trail bikes and my enduro bikes. It's just a lightish wheel set that will take a beating, that's stiff without being overly rigid, but not super compliant. Sure, you can run them on hardtails, but I actually prefer something a little softer on my hardtails. Here we have the ICAN F945 wheel set. These are a 45i rim, a really wide rim. I love these for my 29 by 3.0s. Now, nobody talks about this wheel size. It's my favorite wheel size. I think it's the most intriguing wheel size. They're actually 30.5 inches tall. So it's like the difference from going 27.5 to 29. 29 by 3.0 is such a taller tire that it rolls over things differently. Especially on hardtails, I love this. It's too bad the industry's not on these yet because, you know, they kind of had a little flash in the pan with the Trek stash. and people loved them, and then the industry decided, no, we're done with plus tires, and it's actually kind of hard to find tires like this. But I love this. So this is a kind of a specialty wheel for a bigger tire, but it just goes to show the importance of a wider rim for a wide tire. Obviously, you wouldn't want these 29 by 3.0s on a narrow rim. It would just look like a light bulb. And then when you go to corner, it would just like fold really easily. These are made in China and they're extremely affordable. I've got a 54 tooth ratchet in here. These are straight pull, Sapim bladed spokes. Beautiful, beautifully built wheel. It's a stiff wheel. And what we're relying on here is the cushion of the tire to reduce a lot of that stiffness. But even with a big tire, you can still feel that a stiff wheel is stiff. I don't know how to describe it very well, but it's just kind of the way that vibrations make their way to you through the frame. Still, this is one of my favorite wheel sets because it's so hard to find a 45 to 50i rim. And this is a place where I definitely think it makes sense to go carbon. When these rims start getting really wide, the weight savings is significant on a carbon wheel. And so if this were aluminum, it would be very noticeable. And this is a lot of tire, you know, this is a heavy tire. A 3.0 is a lot of rubber on the ground. And when you go with a wider tire, I recommend going with a smaller knobby. You have so much rubber on the ground and so much traction. You don't need big lugs, and big lugs like an Assegai or a DHF or a DHR, they're gonna slow you down a lot. Just the vibration and the drag and the rolling resistance on a big tire. So I always go with like a little XC tire. This is a Bontrager XR2 tire that works just fine. But this is a wheel set that's under $1,000 for 45i that's carbon with a great wheel set and a great build. So to me, that's kind of a no-brainer. It is a little stiff. I wish it could be a little bit less stiff. I'd be really curious to build these up with BERD spokes. I think that'd be a fantastic 29 plus wheel set. Anyway, that's the ICAN F945. There are very few bikes that this can fit on. It will fit on my signature Binary Maniac. It'll fit on a Trek Stash. It'll fit on a couple unique bikes, but man, I wish the industry would experiment more with 29 by 3.0 because it's a really, really neat wheel size, especially for bike packing and hardtail riding and exploring. It's truly like a good bridging the gap between like a 27.5 plus and a fat bike. It doesn't feel like a fat bike. It still feels like a mountain bike, but it rolls over stuff so much better. Anyway, that's kind of my nerdy take on this, but these are neat wheels for that reason. Okay, this wheel set is no longer in production and I am saddened by it. This is the Atomik Chubby Plus wheel set. This, ooh, I'm gonna get the specs wrong. I'm going off my brain. I think this is a 40i rim. Pretty sure it's a 40i rim for 27.5 plus. You can't get these anymore, but what is so cool about this is they have foam inside the bead channel, a lot like a Spank Vibro Core. And that foam makes a difference. I really do feel a difference. This one, as you can see, also has BERD spokes, which is fantastic. So it's light, very compliant. This is a very, very special wheel set. Right now I've got 2.6s on it. I could go up to 2.8s. It absorbs chatter so well. How would I describe it? It feels like you're running 2 or 3 PSI lower just with how it absorbs the frequencies and roots and rocks. They don't quite make it to your body. It's just kind of damped. It's not flexy feeling. It's not noodly. I don't even know if I would say it's compliant. Maybe it's compliant, but it's more that the foam and the spokes are killing vibrations from the wheel to you on the bicycle. This is a super light wheel set. This is my go-to 27.5 by 2.6 wheel set. Wayne, I wish you would bring back these rims with the foam inside of them because it's still probably one of my all-time favorite wheels and favorite rims. This thing is really special. I love it on hardtails. I love it on full suspension as well. I don't run a ton of 27.5 or 27.5 plus on my full suspensions, but if I did, this is the wheel set I'd be running. I wonder if he ever made a 29 version of this. I'm gonna talk to Wayne, see if we can get some sort of foam-filled carbon wheels again. That's an experiment I want to do. Get 2 identical light bicycle wheels, fill one with, actually 3. Fill one with foam, run BERD spokes on the other, and just get a stock build and test them all side by side to see what they ride like. I guarantee there'd be a difference between all 3. I just don't know how significant it would be. I'm not sure what to attribute to the BERD spokes versus the foam core on what makes this wheel set so special. But this one is truly, truly special. These are the Enve M6 40i rims. I love this wheel set. This wheel set is extremely light. It spins up fast. And a lot of people experience one or two Enves and then put a blanket statement about all Enves. One thing that a lot of people say is all Enves are stiff. The 6 series is not stiff to me at all. I feel that it's not transferring a lot of those vibrations to me. The 7 series and the 9 series are built beefier and stronger and stiffer. And so you can kind of tune to your ride what you want. Do you want something in like the 6 series that has a little more compliance built in? Or do you want something really stiff that's really precise like a scalpel on enduro or downhill racing? So for me, I love the M6 in the 40i rim. I'm running 2.6s on that. This is a little wide. 40i is a little bit wide for 2.6, but it works for me. I really like it. It does square off the profile just a little bit. The whole purpose of going with wider wheels and tires like the 2.6, 2.8 range is so you can run lower pressure. Right now I have 17 PSI in here and it feels like a 30i 2.4 with 23 PSI. So I'm running 6 PSI lower and it feels exactly the same firmness. But when you get on there, you could run this even lower and get a little bit more contour with the ground. One bummer about the Enves is the way that the spoke nipples are hidden inside the rim. So if you ever break a spoke, you have to take the rim tape off and use a special tool to get the nipple in there from the rim side. I broke one, not on this wheel set, but on a different wheel set. And that was a surprise to me to need to do all that. So a little bit of a pain there, but I've had 0 issues with this. I have thousands of miles on this wheel set. And it's got an i9 on there. This has got Supreme bladed spokes, just a really beautiful wheel set, extremely light. It's been extremely durable, and I can highly, highly recommend these for trail riding. I like the M6 stuff. Enve stuff is made in America, in Ogden, Utah. They got some really cool stuff going, and this was my first experience riding an Enve that wasn't stiff. And so if you've only experienced stiff Enves, I'd love to have you try the M6 series. Same with their handlebars and stuff. Their M6 level stuff is meant more for trail riding and not hucking off 40-foot rooftops. So they don't need to make it overbuilt to handle 40-foot rooftop hucks. They have it built for the type of riding that most people do like that. So I think it's really important to, a lot of people think, well, I want the strongest rim possible. I'm just going to get the downhill version. Cool, you can do that, but if you're not riding it like a downhill race like it's meant to be ridden, it could actually be worse performance for you. It might be really robust, but it could be bouncing you and pinballing you all over the trail. Just like when you have like 3 or 4 PSI too much in your tires, you feel that, and it results in loss of traction, loss of control, loss of direction as well. So anyway, these are the M6 40i wheel, and I absolutely love these things on my hardtails and on my full suspensions as well. This is a beautiful wheel. Here we have Knight's 27.5 plus wheel set. This is a 45i wheel set. I've got 27.5 by 3.0s on here. This is a discontinued rim, and this one is super special. There's no foam in the rim. There's no BERD spokes on here, but it's an extremely compliant wheel set. I remember I first test rode these on Outer Bike on a Johnny Rotten, and I was like, what are those wheels? Because they feel amazing. Now, unfortunately, I did crack one doing stupid things, bunny hopping a ledge about this high, and I came down on the corner with low PSI, totally my fault, but I cracked it and broke it. So I got another rim from them and swapped the stuff over. They don't have a lifetime crash replacement warranty where you can just be an idiot and bunny hop into square edges on rocks and get that replaced. They shouldn't have to pay for that. I do have some other friends that have cracked these as well, so I feel like you need to be a smooth or light rider for the Knight rims, but man, they have a truly fantastic feel to them. This is my go-to 27.5 by 3.0 wheel set, and running big tires is so cool. These are pumped up to 11 PSI right now, and it feels like 20 to 22 on a regular 2.4 on a 30i. You can run much lower pressures without it being squirmy, and that will get the tire to conform to the rock. It's remarkable how the bigger you go, the less pressure you need. Anyway, these are the Knight composites. I really, really love their stuff. I think if they were more robust and less likely to get damaged in hard riding, I think they would not feel as good as they do. So you kind of need to toe that line. Like, if you're smooth and your trails are smooth and you know you don't smash your rims on things, this could be an excellent option for you. If you're never sure and you want to be ready for anything, and whether it's an enduro field or big drops or hucks or whatever, I wouldn't recommend the Knights for that. But they've got something special going on here with how compliant they are. But my brain thinks if it's too compliant, it will be less robust. It will be more prone to crack and fail. But if it's stiffer, it will be less compliant. So it's kind of a spectrum that you have to choose in there. All right, we've got to talk about these. I have zero experience actually riding them. This is an upcoming video. But these are the Crank Brothers Synthesis wheel set. And they have different rim widths and different rim profiles and different spoke lacing between front and rear. It's a tuned system, they describe, and they say the back wheel has different duties than the front wheel. And so the front wheel is designed to flex a little bit more. It's got a little bit wider rim because we always run bigger tires on the front than the rear. And then on the rear, it's got more spokes, a little bit stiffer build, and a narrower rim to kind of get that more sharp, precise cornering feel you want out of the rear. I know we don't think about cornering a ton with the rear wheel, but you do feel the wheel in the back more than the front when you're cornering. Their front wheels are designed to be compliant and soft and track the ground. The rear ones are designed to be stiff. They have an aluminum version, which I have here, and a carbon version, which I also have in the shop. And I can't wait to test those back to back. They're so interesting, I just had to mention them today, but sadly I haven't been able to ride these yet, but that's coming soon. So stay tuned for a Synthesis aluminum versus carbon shootout to see the pros and cons of each one. But it's cool to see Crank Brothers thinking about these sort of things and taking a fresh new approach to wheel building. This is the Gulo GME30 wheel set. These are a 30i rim meant for light enduro and heavy trail use. These come in at 1,455 grams. That's XC weight for a trail and light enduro wheel. I love how light these feel. You instantly feel them when you're on their bike. They spin up fast. These have 24 holes, so it's not over spoked, and the spokes are carbon fiber, and their testing has shown that they're 7% more vibration reducing characteristics than a traditional steel spoke. I don't feel this wheel flexing when I ride it. It just feels like a lot of the vibrations don't make it to my feet, and these little carbon spokes are soaking up some of that. It's extremely lightweight. These spokes are made in North Carolina, and the hub's pretty good. It's got decent engagement in it. I feel like the hubs could be a little bit better, but I really, really like this wheel set. I run this on my trail bikes. I run this on my XC bikes. I run it on my hardtails. I run it on my full suspensions. I really think there is something to these spokes in how they absorb some of the trail chatter and trail frequency. They're very unique looking, and they definitely stand out if you want a build that just pops. They've got silver spoke nipple options, black options. I've got 2 sets of these wheels, and I really like them. This is what I run on my bikes that I'm going to be riding for more than 2 hours at a time. They're just light, quick. They don't transfer vibrations to me. It's everything you want in a wheel, and I have zero complaints about these things. Here we have another favorite wheel set. This is the Nukeproof HZN V2. These are no longer available in the US. When Wiggle went out of business and had trouble, kind of went bankrupt, I don't remember the correct term for that over in the UK, Nukeproof got pulled out of the United States and they're no longer distributed in the US. This wheel set is fantastic. It was coming in at like 400 bucks. You could get it on sale for like 350. Really fast engagement. It's an aluminum wheel set. It's not heavy. It's not light. It's not overly stiff. It's not super compliant. It is just so solid. Me and my buddy Cody have put these through the ringer and they just keep on going. Someone else needs to build this wheel and make it available to the masses. 400 bucks for a full wheel set with a high engagement hub is insane. this whole wheel set costs less than most high engagement hubs. And something's wrong in the industry when we can't build high engagement hubs to be affordable on an affordable wheel set. Anyway, if you ever get a chance to snag these, especially if they're new, do it. Don't think twice. So many of my friends are like, man, you recommended me those wheels. I got a set. I should have got a second set before they got pulled out of the US. We didn't know that was going to happen. But this is the legendary Nukeproof HZN V2 wheel set. It's just plain fantastic. Those of you that are in the UK and overseas where Nukeproof is still around, fantastic wheel set. Great way to upgrade your bike at a very affordable price point and get a fast engaging hub with a really, really strong aluminum wheel. Here we have a Stans ARCH Mk3. This wheel set is 25i, maybe 27i. I'm going off memory. I think it's 25i. It's a cross-country lightweight trail wheel set. And what I love about Stans rims is how they seat up to a tire. They're the easiest tire to seat on the planet. And they just seal up really good. They also don't tend to slice and carve tires as much. A lot of rims have kind of sharp rim profiles, so that when you do bottom it out, it ends up slicing the tire. But something about how the guys at Stan designed the rims, they're a hookless bead. The way the tire interfaces with it is fantastic. Now, I don't love this wheel set. This wheel set's pretty light, it's pretty zippy, but it's very stiff, even though it's an aluminum wheel set. So this is one of those cases where people say, well, it's aluminum, it should be more compliant than carbon. This is a stiff wheel set. I know we like to paint with a broad brush and fit everything into neat little categories in our head, but this is a learning channel for our brain to grow. And if there's one takeaway from today, it's that we can't say all carbon wheels ride like A and all aluminum wheels ride like B. They're very different, and sometimes there's a lot of overlap. So it's light, it's zippy, pretty poor engagement. You could buy an upgraded driver for this, but I'm happy that the new Stans wheels are now using Project 321 hubs. And so when you get those, they're a very high engagement wheel, really nice hubs in there. The Stans Flow wheel is a 30i wheel. It's their Enduro wheel, a little bit heavy. It is a fantastic feeling wheel. You'd think they would have made this flexy and the 30 stiff as kind of a downhill and Enduro wheel, but those Flows are very comfortable wheels. I love them. They're very strong. And so I recommend those for Enduro riding and stuff where you don't mind your bike being a little bit heavier and you get a nice soft ride out of it. Those Flows I even like on a full suspension. I feel like they mute the chatter enough that you do get a little bit more traction and you're just kind of more in contact with the ground a little more. So I'm kind of sad that the ARCH didn't have that same feel as the Flow, because if it did, this would be a wonderful wheel set for the price. They're lightweight, easy to install beads on, don't chop the tires too much, but ultimately they ended up being too stiff for my liking. Here we've got another 40i rim. This is by GTL Bike. They make carbon rims over in Asia. I found this to be a very strong rim, but a very stiff rim. I like it on my single speed. It's got kind of a precise, direct feel to the ground. Very, very affordable. They are built very well, and it's kind of in the light bicycle category of affordable Chinese carbon rims that are stiff. And that's kind of where this fits in. I like that they have the extra reinforcement at the spoke hole. I like that they're wide. I have a hard time finding wide carbon rims in the 40 to 45i range. And so I was really happy to find these. These have a nice thick rim profile. And if you want a carbon wheel set for 2.6s, this is one of the cheapest ones you can get. And if you don't care how stiff it is, this is a really great option. I experimented with detensioning the spokes to see if it would soften it out, and it didn't soften it out enough for me to really notice a huge difference. I think it's just overbuilt, really stiff carbon rim, but that's what a lot of people need. If you're a heavier rider, if you don't want to worry about it, you just want something really tough, I think these are a good choice. These remind me a lot of reserve wheels, but in like a wider 40i width. So I do run this on my hardtail. I run it on my single speed because I can handle a little bit stiffer wheel on that. I want direct drive. When I put power down, I want it to accelerate faster. So bang for the buck, it's extremely affordable for a carbon rim. But as far as ride quality goes, big surprise, I prefer the wheels that are double the cost of this. I prefer the Ibis S35 Carbon wheels, and I prefer the Enve M6. They just don't beat me up as much as this. but they're also double the price. So if that doesn't matter to you, or you live somewhere where it's smooth, A, you probably don't need 2.6 tires. B, you can save a lot of money by going with an inexpensive stiff rim. These are the Spinnergy MXX30 wheel set, and they're one of my favorite wheel sets. They're different and they feel different than any other wheel set here. They use these stranded fibers inside this plastic straw. This is a plastic straw to prevent UV degrading of the actual spoke material. There's like a whole bunch of these tiny little strands that come through and make the spokes. Because of that, it behaves a lot like a BERD spoke in that it is vibration absorbing, and you really feel it. They also use foam core in between the walls of their rim as well. So we've got the foam core going for us and these vibration reducing spokes. They're straight pull spokes. They have their own proprietary hub. I recommend getting the upgraded driver to have a faster engagement. This is the low engagement. I need to swap it out for the high engagement one. And even the high engagement one's still not quite as much as I want, but it's a lot better. But these wheels are truly quiet. And I'm not talking about hub noise. I'm talking about the way they track the ground. And they just feel like, it almost feels like you're running Cushcore on these. They just really absorb the vibrations really well. They're not the lightest wheel set. They're not going to be as light as those Gulos, but they're not overly heavy either. I run these on my e-bike. I've got the E version for my e-bike, a little bit beefier. I run these on hardtails all the time. This is the most damped feeling wheel. It's tied with the ZIPP. They have a little different wheel. That ZIPP kind of like dances and moves along with the terrain. This doesn't have that moving feel, which I like. It's a little bit more sure-footed and planted, but it still has a great vibration-reducing feel to it. Here in Sedona, our trails look like a dump truck dumped cinder blocks and bricks in the middle of the trail and then cemented them in place. And we're just smashing against sharp rocks all the time, sharp sandstone. And these wheels handle it beautifully. I don't feel like they're flexy at all. I don't feel like they're stiff at all either. It's what I wish every carbon wheel set felt like. And there's really some magic going on with their spoke technology and that foam core in there as well. You might recognize Spinnergy from the old days. Remember those bladed spokes they used to have? The 4 spokes on each side out of carbon? Same company. You might also recognize them from the wheelchair world. They make some of the most high-end wheelchair stuff, and probably I'd say 98% of their business is wheelchair. Not bike, but since they're already making it, why not make bike ones as well? So I'm a big fan of these wheels. They're very quiet. They track the ground really well. They're damped, but they're not vague feeling either. So these are a really, really special wheel for me. I especially love them on hardtails where you feel every single jolt and vibration. This knocks it down considerably. So if you have a stiff frame that you're trying to get to feel less stiff, a little more compliant, this wheel set won't fully do that, but it will take out a lot of the bone-jarring, high-frequency vibrations that will make it to your frame. So it's a way to do it without replacing your frame. It won't completely feel like a smooth and compliant frame, but it will go a long way into reducing those fatiguing vibrations where you just get at the end of the trail and your hands are numb and you can barely have any grip strength, and you just feel like you've been riding a jackhammer for the last hour. These wheels do live up to their marketing, and it really is a smooth, smooth, soft ride. This is a Forge & Bond AM30 wheel set. It's the all-mountain wheel set. Bladed Supreme spokes, 28-hole, excellent marketing and graphics. You instantly recognize Forge & Bond by that blue and that little plus on there, but it's not overdone. Some of these wheels have so many decals on them that it's just kind of nauseating. It makes your bike look terrible. This, you have to really look to even find the Forge & Bond name on it. Beautiful, beautiful rims. So Forge & Bond is made in Gunnison, Utah. They are designed in the US, they are built in the US, and they really push sustainability and recyclability and able to use their stuff to make more stuff. And they have a really unique manufacturing process that no one else is doing. So this is Forge & Bond. They make the rims for Evil. They make the rims for Chris King. They make those Atomic rims. Anything with fusion fiber is made by these guys. So this is their own brand wheel set. This is the AM30, which is a 30i with 28 holes. It's a little bit lighter. It's meant to be less stiff and over-aggressive for most people's trail riding. They call it the 90% wheel. For 90% of your riding, this is the right wheel that they recommend. They're not extremely light. They're not bad. They're not heavy. They don't reduce a whole bunch of vibration like they say they do, but they're not super stiff riding like an anvil. They're kind of middle of the road carbon wheel. But what's really cool about them is they're made in the US. B, they have a lifetime use it and abuse it warranty. You destroy these things, send it to them, and they will fix it. And then they'll take your broken wheel and turn it into other things. Tire levers is all I'm allowed to talk about, but they're making other things with it, which I can't talk about yet. But it's made with this really cool nylon impregnated polymer and long strand carbon fibers. And so what they do is they heat it up and squish it in a mold instead of baking it in an oven. And so in a matter of seconds, they form it into its shape, and then when it cools, it's ready to go. And because of that technology, they can recycle it and reuse it for other parts. So they can cut up little strips, and they can smash it and reheat it and reform it into other things as well. Carbon manufacturing is highly toxic. It's bad for the environment. Almost all these other carbon wheels, when they break, you throw them away. You can't use them for anything else, so it just creates waste. I love that Forge and Bond is thinking about making them still be usable. Even if it's just for tire levers, who cares? It's still being reused and not just going to a landfill. So they're great wheels and fantastic warranty, cool company. They have really great logos, really great marketing. I'm sure you've seen them around all over the place with your favorite pros riding them. Their marketing is hitting it hard. It's a great wheel set. It doesn't do anything best, I would say. Like a lot of the other cool wheel sets we've looked at, some are the best for vibration, some are the best for stiffness, some are the best for cost. But this is a very solid wheel set that you can feel great about punishing day after day after day. And I really believe in supporting companies that are trying to find new ways to build things and manufacture things and reuse things. It's kind of disgusting how much we will just get rid of a part that was pretty functional for the newest, latest, and greatest, and we just discard things that actually had value. And so I have a lot of hope for this technology, and I can't wait to see this technology progress to see what else they can make with their recycled, used wheels after they've been warranty replaced. So Forge and Bond invented and pioneered and makes that fusion fiber technology that you find in Chris King wheels, in the Atomik wheels, in the evil Loopholes, and a couple other companies. Forge and Bond is building them for them to their specs. Now Forge and Bond has other wheels as well with more spoke count. They're a little bit heavy, a little bit more burly, and they have gravel stuff and road stuff. I just happen to gravitate towards trail wheels when I review wheels because I don't need overly stiff, I don't need overly burly. That usually detracts from the riding experience for me. So they have a whole lineup, but this is kind of their trail wheel set, meant for what 90% of us do on a regular ride. Here we have the Eliite Trail Gnar 30 wheel set. This is an extremely affordable, extremely lightweight 30i rim. And they have high engagement hubs. The whole wheel set comes in well under $1,000 when you use my discount code below. By the way, I have discount codes for a lot of these wheels, a lot of these I don't, but very high engagement. You can either order it with a DT Swiss style 54 tooth ratchet, which is what I'm running here, or a 6-pawl design. These wheels do not feel overly stiff. So this is one of the very few sub $1,000 carbon wheels that doesn't feel overly stiff. They don't feel as smooth as the Spinnergies, they don't feel as smooth as the ZIPPs, they don't feel as smooth as the Knights, but they feel smoother than 90% of other wheels out there. Unfortunately, I ended up cracking one of these on a ride once. I was able to keep riding and keep going with a tube, but when I got home I found that the crack was about 1 inch long in it. Now, that was riding a hardtail in Sedona. Maybe I just got totally unlucky and hit a rock at the wrong time. I remember the rim strike, but all these other wheels that I've reviewed have had similar rim strikes with no problem. So I feel like they're a little bit weaker than some, but if you've got a NICA student who's racing XC and wants a great wheel set and they're not like hucking off drops and stuff, but it's really going to stay on their XC bike, fantastic choice for the price. Really, really hard to beat. They've got some really interesting stuff coming out with hub technologies and different things like that. It was cool to catch up with these guys at Sea Otter, but for the price, I don't think there's a better wheel here, as long as they don't crack for most people. Now, I was able to get the warranty and get a new rim over here and swap it over. No big deal. That's easy for me. I build wheels. In talking with them, they've only had 3 rim failures out of about 150 of these. So it's probably not as common as I'm making it out to be. If you're a lighter rider, or you're not shredding super hard, or you're not hitting jumps or big rocky terrain, I think this could be a fantastic wheel set for you. Like I said, they're beautifully built, Supreme bladed spokes, high engagement hubs, really lightweight, they seat tires nice. It's just pretty amazing how affordable these things are, and they're not overly harsh. I just feel like for really heavy riding enduro stuff, I don't think I'd go with these, but for trail riding, I think they're a fantastic option. Here we have the famous reserve wheels. Everybody's seen Danny McCaskill's video riding this downstairs without tires on it, and it still held its true. That was an impressive piece of marketing. I don't think another wheel video has been watched that much, so bravo to Santa Cruz and Danny McCaskill for making that happen. These come with their Fillmore valves, which I think are pretty cool. These are burly wheels that ride really stiff. And they have a lifetime warranty, and their warranty's the best. If anything happens, if you back over it with your car, they even say, you take it to your Santa Cruz dealer, they get you a new wheel set within 2 to 3 days, and then you're back riding again. That's pretty unheard of. And so that goes a long way with these wheels. They're a good wheel set. I feel like it's kind of like the GTL Bike wheel, just with the Reserve brand on it. I don't know who's making these for them. They have reinforced spoke nipple area, this raised area here, and they're just solid wheels. If you're a heavy rider, if you break stuff, if you bash stuff, this is what I'm gonna recommend for you. If you're a light rider or a hardtail rider and you kind of want a nuanced feel where it'll not transmit the vibrations to you, I don't recommend these. So it's a tool for the job. I love the subtle marketing, just like Forge and Bond. They've just got their one little color. There's no logos plastered all over it. It's very simple to tell when someone's on one of these wheels. They are great wheels, great warranty, very strong, but very stiff. That's up to you. For an enduro bike, I think I'd be okay with them. They are enough on the stiff side though, that I feel like they do fatigue me even on a full suspension. So take that for what it's worth, but if you're a heavier person or you ride really hard, like hard enough to pull tires off your rims in corners, I think this could be a great option. And if you're hard on wheels and you break stuff a lot, I think you should be looking at something like these Reserves with a great warranty, with phenomenal strength. And yeah, they're a little heavy, and yeah, they're pricey, and yeah, they're pretty stiff riding, but they're gonna keep working for you for the most part. I mean, nothing's indestructible. We can't say that you can never break these, but they really are strong wheels. Now let's talk about a few other wheels that I don't have in my possession and what I think about them. I really like Roval wheels. They are fantastic for the price. They're light. They use that DT350 star ratchet, so you can upgrade to the 54 tooth ratchet. And they are not a harsh wheel. They are quite compliant. Every Roval that I've ridden, I was pleasantly surprised with, and they're quite affordable. So those should definitely be on your radar as well, especially if you want a softer, smoother riding carbon rim that's light and not overly expensive. Now, a lot of you are going to be saying, what about We Are One? What about We Are One? I've ridden a few We Are Ones, but they were on test bikes, and I don't know enough about which models I was on and which generation and which year to make an informed decision about it. So I will hold my peace on that. I really respect what We Are One is doing, and I love that they brought the manufacturing to North America. I know a lot of friends and pros that run their stuff and absolutely love them. I need to get more experience on them, so I'm hoping to be able to ride more wheels from We Are One to be able to see how they slot in with all these other wheels. So what wheel set did I miss? What wheel set do you want to see next? Maybe I could reach out to a couple of these companies, see if they want to send them in, and we can get some input on those as well. This video took years in the making of riding all of these wheels. It took a long time to film this. If you benefited in any way, it was for free and you don't have to pay for it. But maybe consider supporting this channel by giving it a thumbs up or subscribing or using one of the links down below, like buy me a coffee or become a patron to support the work that I'm doing. This is my full-time job. This is how I put food on the table for my family. And I hope this benefited you. If it did benefit you, think about how much money it might have saved you from not going out and buying the wrong wheel set. Anyway, if you like getting nerdy and learning and diving deep into this stuff, you belong on this channel. This is your home. Make sure you're subscribed. Thanks for watching, nerds. Take care.